Actually, probably the most remarkable thing about Ray is that he's a real person. He's not a politician. He's a man. He's a gentle man. He's a real man.
He's talking to you. He's there with you. He sees you. He listens to you. You are acknowledged by him. And that's not always a gift that people have. I continued to encounter Ray at various functions. And pretty soon it was, "Hey Nancy, how are you?" And my husband said, "How come Ray knows your name and not mine? I see him at all these meetings." So Ray is a really special person, and I know this is a hard change for him. But I see great things happening for Ray.
A great leader, in my opinion. And he just has that volunteer spirit that you don't find in everybody. And that has rubbed off on me, and for some crazy reason I continue to fundraise and do things for schools.
What do they say? He walks the talk. He's not ever asked anybody to do anything that he wouldn't do himself. And
I think of him as being very charismatic, and it really warms my heart whenever I'm around Ray. I feel very comfortable. He's easygoing. He has a warmth about him that he generates, from inside of himself. I know from my experience with him that he's a deeply religious person.
He has, both Ray and I have grown up a lot, and we certainly grew up politically in Natomas. We've schemed a lot together, and I think that Ray is a little undervalued in Sacramento. Which I think is unfortunate, because he has been an incredible ally for me, and someone who cares so deeply and has such a strong sense of values. He can't be bought. He's not swayed by stupid arguments. He can be swayed by good arguments, but he does what's right. And having someone that I could rely on, sitting late at night in hearings in the early days of trying to do what was right for the community, trying to get a few less apartment buildings approved, trying to get them well designed, trying to get traffic signals, trying to get a park built. Ray and others that were involved in the early days of Natomas really set a tone not only of respect for the community, but of building community, and of people feeling like Natomas could be a community.
I actually met him at the Fort Natomas, the first Fort Natomas build, and I think he was leading a crew and running a skill saw. I can't remember all, but I was impressed at that time with the community involvement, and it seemed like every few months I was running into Ray to volunteer for yet another project, and usually it was Ray who was getting the group together or sponsoring it, or whether it was a tree planting or community cleanups. I remember distinctly running into Ray at a Creek Week cleanup, and I wanted to get a photo of him and some AmeriCorps kids he was working with, and couldn't find him, and somebody pointed out that he was down in the creek bed. And I hollered for him to look up for the photo. He couldn't be bothered. He was busy hauling out tires and all kinds of garbage. And that to me was Ray. I mean,
Ray way back in the 70s, in the late 70s, and when he was involved with the Natomas, what was in the Natomas Journal when Judy was working on it, in the days of the beginning of NCA. Ray was very active and involved, and we used to put on some joint fundraisers, the good old hanger hoedowns at the airport. And Ray would be there at every event, and one of the things that I always admired from the day I met Ray is his ability to be serious when he has to be serious, but he also loves to have a good time. And when we had our fundraisers like the Hanger Hoedown, he and Judy were both there just dancing up a storm and brought their kids, and it made me realize that you know, that you can be involved in a lot of activities and have fun and enjoy life. And
really seen as the place to get money to help finance the rest of the city, and so we kind of had to go into battle mode. And he was a great one to sit next to at council meetings till 2 in the morning. And back in the old days when we couldn't get staff reports until we got to the council meeting, and then had to read them quickly and be able to respond. Council doesn't meet till 2 o'clock anymore, but we used to do that till 1 or 2 in the morning. And ultimately, we were involved in a couple of lawsuits together against the city of Sacramento because we were so frustrated with what wasn't happening to our community. And in the first one, the one that really, I think, set the tone for all of us was the lawsuit in South Natomas, where we challenged the city on not considering North Natomas's impact on South Natomas. And despite 11 pretrial motions, and lots of efforts and fundraising, we won in an hour.
Ray's part in the working group was, Ray has always been a dialogue person. He's not a debater. He doesn't sit and debate black versus white. He gets into a dialogue. What do you want? What is your interest? What would you like to see here? And he really contributed to the working group because of that ability. And when it was all said and done, I think Joe Benvenuti said it best. They all got to be friends. They all.
Thomas in particular, it was just always the place to play when I was little and all that. I mean, I even took my niece there once she was born, and I mean, it was always right across the street, so it was just, you know, a fun, relaxing place, and a lot of good memories from childhood there and all that. And then the theater itself meant a lot, especially going to charter, because we were such a school based on the performing and fine arts, but we really didn't have anywhere there on campus where we could perform all that. I mean, we had a little black box, but it didn't, you know, it didn't seat as many people. It wasn't as comfortable and as easily accessible. So having an actual theater was really a huge thing for us. I mean, all of our shows are in there now. We have classes that were taught in there. I mean, it was huge, really.
On the city council, every agenda item on the council for many of the years that he was on the council were North Natomas development items, you know. And if they weren't development requests, then they were, how do you fund the infrastructure? How do you finance this big area? So, and of course, many of the council members thought they knew more than he did, and you know, he sort of had to stick up for himself on what his constituents wanted. And his constituents consisted of the folks who lived in South Natomas, the growing community of North Natomas, and then eventually he was representing people that didn't even live there yet.
Someone who wasn't just concerned about the physical parts of the community. I mean, it was important to get the traffic signals and to get the parks built and to get our community center and library and other amenities throughout the community. But Ray was really, and still is, about building the community, building a sense of community.
His support for the Natomas Rose Garden, when I first, and a couple of other people, we first brought up the idea to the Parks Department, we didn't get a very good reception, and it was Ray and his office who really helped us proceed with that project. And Ray found he's a master, I think, at cobbling together funds that might have, you know, not been used for something else, and he was instrumental in helping us get the infrastructure for that rose garden started. And after that, he and Mayor Fargo helped with the grand trellis that's used for weddings now.
Ray has been so supportive of everything that we do. He's been a sponsor of a lot of our events to raise money to keep our programs going. He attends a lot of the activities that we have here. He's always here smiling, shaking hands, talking with our seniors on any senior event. He's come when we've done Christmas baskets. He just has been so involved in everything.